Hey everybody, welcome to Chaz Knows Everything. Not Chaz. Uh, uh, Chaz Chaz says anything. Okay. If you like what you see or hear, click the subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. So I am solo tonight, and we're gonna talk about first the New Jersey NFL divisional round picks that I had. So, as you can see, I went 2-2. Uh, in the blue was obviously the games I got right, red I got wrong, and red I got extremely wrong. Um, so I don't know what my record is. I'll have to go over that down the road and see how I've done over the last few weeks. I know I'm over 500, but not by much. So let's start with the Giants and the Eagles. I'll say this. First and foremost, we had a great year. We weren't expected to do well. We were expected to be either third or fourth in our NFC East division. We ended up third, but we were also third in the play, and we were in the playoffs. We had a great team. A great team under the great tutelage of under first year coach Brian Dable. Saying all that, and what those coaches have done all year, and what they did in Minnesota last week, taking down Justin Jefferson. And apparently, from everything I saw on Saturday, they left it in Minnesota. I need to know what happened to the defensive backs between Minnesota and Saturday in Philadelphia. That was pathetic. That was the worst team defensive wise I've seen this year as a Giants team since probably the week 1 or 2 when we weren't, really settled and we had a we had a pretty rough preseason. We were up and down. We were winning, but we were winning with our second teams, not our first teams. The Jordan Love and the rest of those guys apparently can't tackle anyone that is faster than them or slightly bigger than them. I saw so many mistakes, and maybe this might have been scheme. This might have been Wink Martindale's scheme. They had him in zone a lot in that first quarter. Didn't work. He gave up 21 points in zone. 21. 3 touchdowns. Then let me get to the bigger problem. Remember what Brian Dable did 4th and 8 in his area, or around the 50, if I'm correct. It was close. He went for it on 4th and 8. What on God's green earth, Brian Dable, were you thinking? That was the worst play call you've had this year. I really wish my fiance was videoing what I was saying throughout this first half that we were watching the game. I don't think I was cursing too much, but I was spewing all these different things that they needed to be done. And honestly, I feel like I could have been a better coach in that point than Dable was being. I don't know what happened. I don't know who was doing what. I don't know who wasn't listening to what. We just looked pathetic. We looked like we didn't belong there. And I know Cowboy fans. I know other fans will probably agree with me that we played like we didn't belong there. So it hurts me to say it when, yeah, we weren't expected to be there, but the fact that you play like you didn't belong there is not a good feeling. I mean, it's Monday. I'm still sick on it. I'm still feeling a guttural, not a guttural, but a throat thing right here. And I was sick for the last 3 weeks. A little thing in my throat. This is a different feeling. I'm not over this yet. It goes from here all the way to my gut. It's sickening. It's a disgusting feeling. It really is. The apathy that they showed on that sideline was literally, I wanted to turn the TV off. I mean, and I know a lot of people on social media, my buddy Jim LeBruno, a couple other Giant fans, they all basically went to bed or turned the channel after halftime. I had to watch because Beth wanted to see her team win, and she should. I wasn't going to falter that. Her team was playing up to par. They showed the team they should have been week 18, playing against the second team of the Giants. The first team gave up 38 points in the divisional round. The second team gave up 22. Dable, I hope, brought that up today. I really do. That was the worst defensive play this year. And the last thing you want to do is have your worst defensive game in a divisional game or in a playoff period. Week 2, week 5, you can fix it. You can't fix it after the divisional round. Guess what? Half of you getting cut. I don't know who's coming back. I don't know who's going right now. That's for another show. Congrats, Philly. The Philly fans. You scouted us out. You figured it out. You did it. And I'll tell you who I picked down the road. Like I said, we'll talk about that a little later. Got to get to a few more things. So Cincinnati basically dismantled Buffalo in Buffalo. This is the only game this weekend. Excuse me. The only game this weekend where the home team lost. And not just lost. They lost bad. The Buffalo Bills came out without a fire in their belly. And I could have swore I saw it because in previews on Sunday, when they're previewing it, I hear this all riled up with everybody on the field. All the Buffalo Bills are getting riled up. It was a shock to my sense of football sense that I did not see how weak Buffalo was and how strong Cincinnati was. And I said this today. I thought about this yesterday. I said something. Go back to my first or second episode. I said something that was very prophetic, and I should have remembered it when I said it. I'd go back to it, but I'd rather everybody else go see it. I said that the Bills were very good with the one exception. That the defense was lacking when Von Miller got hurt. I wish I remembered that when I was doing my picks. I really do. That hurt. That hurt a lot. So I feel for you, Buffalo fans. DeMar was in the house. I'm glad. And we were all praying, I know. But that wasn't enough. The DeMar being in Buffalo, in stadium, was not enough. Cincinnati They felt disrespected from what all reports with this neutral site game that tickets were being sold, which in theory they shouldn't be disrespected. And I'll tell you why. In business, you need to sell things prior to an event, whether that event takes place or not. That's business. So Cincinnati, that was almost a fake disrespect for them to try to say that they had. If this happened with Cincinnati and Buffalo, or Cincinnati and Kansas City, where they had to go to a neutral site, they would have understood, because it's a business. That was a business decision by the NFL. It wasn't a popular one. I tell you, I wasn't happy with it. I go back to 2 weeks ago through when this happened with DeMar. I wanted them to play. I wanted Buffalo and Cincinnati to play. The winner, we figured out, and then we figured out the game. It was somewhere in the middle there. Obviously, that didn't take place. So to feel this fake disrespect, I don't like it. But if they want to run with it, run with it. Okay, because you got a big opponent coming up next. Okay, and we're going to talk about that opponent right now. Jacksonville kept it real. I mean, I got worried in this game. Especially, and we all know, if you watch the game, Patrick Mahomes, right ankle sprain, high ankle sprain, and let's go backwards a little bit to the Philly game that I talked about before. Remember who got hurt in the Philly game with also a right ankle sprain? Oh, wait, no, that wasn't Philly. Wow, I'm really confusing my games. It's the next game. That I'm going to talk about. It's the Dallas game. This ankle sprain is going to affect his mobility. He showed now instantly. Obviously, he showed it. He was hobbling. He couldn't throw, and he needed to throw after the injury to have them just keep the running back. So he had to throw, and I'm glad that Andy pulled him out and then told him to go to get an X-ray or an MRI or whatever he told him to do in the locker room. He needed to. Yeah, you have, and you know what? This is where I get, Patrick Mahomes. He's the guy. He wants to be out there, and he threw that his jumper or coat down when he was upset that he had to go in the back. But Andy has to make that call quicker. Your guy is hurt. He doesn't have the ability to do what he can normally do at 50%, if not less. And you have a veteran quarterback in Chad Henne. Veteran quarterback that we all know now what he did. He had one drive before the end of that first half, drove 94 yards for that 7 points. And that's the 7 difference right there. Chad Henne won that game for them in the second quarter. All they had to do was coast in the third and the fourth, and they basically did. They held off Jacksonville enough for another 30 minutes. Kansas City, they escaped with their lives on this one because they had a veteran quarterback that could do the things he can do. Now, and I don't know if they talked about this. I Googled it myself. Chad Henne's been with the Kansas City Chiefs since 2018. So 2 years prior to COVID, the COVID year of 2020, and last year, and then 2021, and this past year. So 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons, almost 6 seasons. He knows the system. Can he win next week? If Patrick can't go, I don't know. We'll get down to that a little bit later. But like I said, they really scathed, and Yeah, it really helps that they have weapons. It really, Kansas City, you have offensive weapons that you can utilize. Whether you have Patrick Mahomes, whether you have Chad Henne, if they use them, and the key is going to be your running game. I forget the other guy because I'm so focused on this guy, and he's a local guy. If you didn't know and you haven't heard of him, get to know him. Isaiah Pacheco, a Rutgers running back who got drafted by the Chiefs. He showed up, he showed out. He is a baller. That kid is awesome. I'm what kills me is he probably won't be a great fantasy player, which is fine. You don't have to be a great fantasy player to be a great player. And he's probably going to win 2 or 3 championships if he stays with the Chiefs for a long term. The Chiefs are going to be that team that them and Buffalo that they're going to go back and forth to championships. I mean, it's just show me another team besides maybe Jacksonville down the road. It's just that's the way it's going to be. So, like I said, this is going to be an interesting game next week. We'll get to that. Let me get to the last one. Dallas Cowboys losing to the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I watched this whole game too. I saw what I thought was going to be a shootout. Turned out to be a very good, if not defensive game from Dallas. And I've heard it all day today from Dallas fans, between Reggie Walker, my boy Frank at work, even my other coworker, Paul, who are all Dallas fans. I think Dak is gone. I got to agree with them. Dak, I believe, is a free agent at the end of this year. I can't imagine Jerry Jones picking this guy up. I don't care how much you think he's the son. You cannot bring back Dak Prescott. You need to find somebody else. You want to hear something funny. Now, another Dallas fan brought this up. I'm going to call him out. Maybe you'll see this later. Manny, another one of my coworkers at Carey, said, and I'll give him the credit on this, don't be shocked if you see Tom Brady in Dallas next year. And I thought about that because I kept thinking, he's not coming back to Tampa Bay. He's going to Raiders. Dallas is not a bad spot for him. It would probably be pretty good. He's got weapons. CeeDee Lamb, other guys. I think the ideal of Dak and Zeke are dead. Like Zeke, he's not the player. Remember, this past year it's been Pollard then Zeke. It's transformed in the middle of the year from Zeke to Pollard and Pollard to Zeke. I think Zeke's done. I don't see Zeke coming back from this. He's going somewhere else. Just going to see him in Jacksonville. You're going to see him in Carolina, somewhere where he can rebound his career. Dallas doesn't want that. Dallas isn't going to want to deal with that anymore. They're going to figure this out. Well, okay. I'm thinking in a real GM term that they're going to figure this out, but we all know who their GM is. Jerry. Do you think Jerry's going to figure this out? I don't, but that's my giant fandom saying that he's not going to figure it out. And there are Cowboy fans that agree with me. I know every Cowboy fan that watches this has got a question in their mind. Is Jerry Jones our GM that we need? I think the answer is no. You want to be the owner, stay the owner. You've done supposedly great things. I don't know what those are. I don't follow the Cowboys like that. I don't know how he became a Hall of Famer other than he paid to get in the Hall of Fame. What I do know is what I saw yesterday. And those 2 interceptions by Dak, Zeke not playing to what he was 2 to 3 years ago, and San Francisco just bludgeoning them to death and making him throw those 2 picks. They're not a great DB backfield, but they're good enough. And that's why I'm wondering about this with what we saw with the Giants against the Eagles. Are they they're better than the Giants DB wise, but are they good enough to handle the onslaught that is the Philadelphia Eagles? But San Francisco did it. Purdy, if he's Mr. Irrelevant, and I tell you, if he gets it to the Super Bowl and wins, hypothetically, he gets to the Super Bowl and wins, there will be a mini docuseries on this guy, and they're going to call it Mr. Irrelevant because that's the sarcastic way to call this, because he was Mr. Irrelevant. Brock Purdy, he for all intents and purposes, probably the best quarterback that we've seen in these playoffs. Hurts didn't overwhelm me, obviously, and Burrow, he was Joe Cool, but what did he do? He didn't do much. Purdy, they only scored 19 points. They scored the least amount of all the winning teams, but he was able to manage and get where things needed to be. McCaffrey didn't have a big game. Nobody really had a big game. Kittle, I think, was the only one who really profited, in yards and catches, and he got a touchdown if I'm correct. Nobody really did great, but they survived to get to the next round. They need to be great in the next round. All right, so get off of this for now. Then we'll go to here. So the Jets are looking for an offensive coordinator. I kind of dabbled on that a little bit last week. They're even going bigger now. It's a crazy thing that they're doing. So they're interviewing, as it says here on what website is this? The Jets Wire USA Today. The Jets are interviewing Clint Kubiak for their vacant position, according to Tom Pelissero of NFL Network. Kubiak spent 2021 as the Broncos quarterback coach and pass game coordinator. New York Jets. Do you really want this guy who coached? Where is he? There he is, right here. Russell Wilson. What did Russell Wilson do this year? He left Seattle and he went down. Do you really think this guy is the guy? I don't. I just what he did in his past does not necessarily mean. I mean, look at his resume: Broncos quarterback coach, Vikings offensive coordinator, Vikings quarterbacks coach, Broncos offensive assistant. So why did he go to Broncos, Vikings, back to the Broncos? That's just weird. I don't think this is the guy the Jets need, especially if they're going to probably get a new quarterback, especially if they're going to, double down on getting a decent wide receiver core. I mean, they got a better wide receiver core than the Giants do. It just they got to figure that, whatever they got to do. There is one other, which is a little more probably, because I don't think this was his fault. I mean, he didn't bring in the team in Denver, Nathaniel Hackett. So obviously we're sticking with the Denver thing, but he was the former coach. He does know offense. Unfortunately, he had his offensive coordinator who didn't really do anything with this team. If you put a player who lasted longer than 2 years, Brian Schottenheimer, he'll start longevity. I think Hackett could be the guy. So, I mean, he's the 7th guy they've interviewed in the last week or 2 weeks. Maybe this is the guy. Saleh and Hackett. I'm sure. If it looks like Saleh interviewed former. Oh no. Okay, so I thought he had a connection. He still might. I mean, he might have a connection with Hackett. So we'll see. how that works out. I do want to look up something else. Let's see. Jurickson. All right. So next, what we're doing, the question last week, and there's a name that popped up for left field that I kind of found surprising, but a lot of people are saying it actually might make sense. And I mean, that means honestly now we got to trade somebody. But if that's the case, why Jurickson Profar makes sense for the New York Yankees. So according to Colin Loggerin, 21 hours ago, Yankees are reportedly keeping tabs on Profar, and while many may be lukewarm about potential acquisition, it's worth noting that he could be a solid defensive fit with an interesting upside at the plate. Profar would almost certainly be expected to play left field as if he were to sign with the Yanks, but it's worth noting that he can play multiple positions if pressed. Over the course of his 9-year career, Profar has played each position in both the infield and the outfield. In fact, the only positions he's not played are pitcher catcher. You know what? We could use a guy like that. We really could. You can get rid of Hicks. You can get rid of Donaldson. You know, if somebody actually could use a guy like that, go for it. Take him. We'll take minor leaguers for them. Get rid of them. This is probably the guy they should go for. He makes sense. He's legitimate. I don't. If I go farther, he might even be a switch hitter. Profar is not a slugger by any stretch, but it is a high upside. 20 home runs in both 2019 and 2018 as a member of the Texans. Yeah, I remember this kid. And excuse me for saying kid. Everybody's a kid now when I'm 46 years old. So I think Jurickson Profar needs to be the guy. He's legitimately the one that, you know, makes sense in a world of the Yankees that we have outfielders on the come. They're just not ready yet. Like Jason, whatever his name is, Rodriguez, he's not ready yet. And if he's the home run hitter we all expect him to be, and playing center field or playing left field, he's got to do it in AAA this year. And it sounds like him and Volpe will be the guys in AAA. I'd love to see Volpe come up this year, but I don't see Volpe coming up. You know, I'm changing my mind on that a little bit. I think Volpe's gonna, if he comes up at all, it's gonna be September. But you know, we need healthy guys in that outfield. And once in a while, you know, Giancarlo can actually spell left field or right field. So you got your team. We just need the pitching to be the pitching. So that's as much I'll say on that. I'm not doing bad on time. All right. Next one. Let me get out of that. Okay. Really? Hold on. There we go. Okay. He's minor league Yankee slugger. So notice the wording. I had to fix the wording on this. Yankees hire former minor league Yankee slugger. So in the minors, he was a great player, not in the majors. But some of you might remember him if you're a Yankee fan. So he's going to manage the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. They had a good season last year. They've been good for the last couple of years. We've had some good kids playing on this AAA team. So this came out on the 20th by New Jersey Advanced Media writer for NewJersey.com, Randy Miller. Back in the day, Shelley Duncan looked like a future star for a couple seasons in the Yankees minor league as a Yankees minor leaguer. The slugger outfielder belted 34 home runs in 142 games playing for Double-A Trenton back in 2005 when we had that with Trenton, and another 24 in 91 games for Scranton Wilkes-Barre in 2007 to earn a first big league call-up. 2 years later, he had a 30 home run, 99 RBI season with Scranton to earn an international MVP honors and folk hero status. Now, he got called up in July on July 20th, 2007 at Yankee Stadium. If anybody remembers Shelley Duncan, he was this kind of big, stocky dude. We had a couple of those back in those days. So remember, this is 2 years before we won in 2009. And we were always in it. We were always in it. It's kind of like we are now. We're always in that roundabout where we were always in it. So Duncan picked up his first hit and RBI. The next day, he hit his first home run in the first game of a doubleheader. The next day, he hit 2 more home runs. But that was pretty much his week. I mean, he belted 11 homers 3 years in a row as a platoon player when he played for the Cleveland Indians. So he left the Yankees and went to Cleveland. Not a big career. But like I said, this is the guy who's going to be now leading the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders next year. That's a pretty cool thing, I got to say. All right, so went through the football stuff. All right, so a couple things from an email I got. All right, let me get out of this, remove that. A little slow. All right, so I don't have a picture of this, but I found this very, very interesting, and this should be, something that's pretty big. The Diamondbacks on Friday named Ronnie, I'm going to get this name hopefully right, Gajowicz, I'm not getting it right, Gajownik, close enough. Somebody, I'm sure, will tell me. As manager of the Hillsboro Hops, their High A affiliate, that was last year, who spent last season as the first base coach for the Double-A squad. Oh, did I get this wrong? It shouldn't be manager. She was first base coach at Double-A squad, but she'll be the first to manage a Major League Baseball team at this level. Okay, screwed up a little bit. It's not Double-A affiliate. It's a High A affiliate, but it's High A affiliate, I guess, which is interesting. I thought Yankees had High A. Maybe it's not High A. I don't know. Either way, good for her. Women in baseball needs to be a thing. I'm just I am 100% backing up every qualified woman that can play or coach in baseball. I'm even I'm curious, and I'd probably pay to watch a women's baseball league or some type of organized professional women's league. I'm even interested in football. That's not this lingerie football stuff. I want actual football. There are women that can actually throw a football. There are women that can block. They don't have to be these big 300-pound men that are blocking, but they're big enough women that they can block. Why can't, maybe this might be my rant a little rant, because I didn't rant about the Giants. I'm steamed out with the Giants. We need more women representation in sports, period. And the big professional sports. I get soccer is a big thing. And that's where they're now making their money, and that's good. But why can't we have, and I know we have WNBA, but they only play 3 months out of the year, and it goes up against baseball. There are enough fans in the world to mix and match and everybody gets their own piece of the pie. But also WNBA goes up against the beginnings of football and basketball and hockey in their seasons. So, I mean, if they can just get enough people, then that would be good. I also think, like I said, professional baseball and professional football for women would be immense. I think people would watch. I don't think people. There will be people that, and I'll use nice words. They're going to poo poo it. Okay, they're going to say that not. I don't want to see this for whatever reason. You know what? I do. I have a daughter from my first marriage, who at one point could throw a football pretty well. I think women out there should be able to play. So, and get paid to actually do it too. One other thing I got before I go to a new thing I do. So I saw this too, a bit of a NCAA basketball anomaly. The number one Houston, I forget their names. Apologies to Houston. I don't know their um, team mascot, team name. But number one Houston and number two Kansas Jayhawks each suffered home losses this weekend. It's the first time this happened in AP poll history. This is parity at its finest. Parity is finally coming back to the NCAA college ranks. I see it in my team that I've been following since I was a kid, Georgetown. They can't get anybody because everybody's going everywhere else. And they got one of the premier coaches that they could possibly get in Patrick Ewing. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that when you get these big name coaches and all you got to do is Google what they did. Now, obviously, he's not Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan's not coaching. He's not Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen's not coaching. He's not Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's not coaching. The only one I know other than Patrick Ewing who's coaching is Anthony Hardaway. So the rest of these guys are just regular guys who played and weren't big. So why my Georgetown Hoyas can't do well in whatever conference they're in now, because the Big East is gone. I've lost track of what is conference is what. I'd be okay with an East, a Midwest, and a West. I'm so done with these conferences. And maybe that's another take I have. Football, it's a little more enclosed because there is big teams at the top of each conference. But basketball, it should just be East, West, Midwest. Maybe you do South and North. I mean, I don't know. But the college has become dull to watch, in my opinion. There needs to be more of a formation of leagues and visibility for you to watch. I mean, yes, there's a lot of college games on ESPN, on SNY or Fox Sports. I know NBC Peacock has their own sports, NBC Sports now. So I wish college would figure themselves out, especially before my kids become college eligible. So, NCAA, you got 10 years. And I know my one son might be, and I'm hoping, praying to God, praying to every sports person that's in their life in Pennsylvania that sees Hunter's physical abilities in his athletic prowess of whatever he wants to do. And I know the same goes for Aiden with whatever he wants to do, whether it's acting or something else. I hope that they are seen for what they want to do in the next 10 years. But the NCAA needs to figure this out. You're going to mess up a lot of kids if you don't. You're gonna this is why we might revert back to drafting kids out of high school. I hate to say it. I don't like thinking it. I really don't. Drafting kids out of high school is not a thing for me. I didn't like it when, I mean, Kobe Bryant, if I'm correct, was the only one who really was legit. Okay, so that's my college rant. And now I want to talk about something a little different. Okay, a different type of thing. I'm doing TV show commentary. So this weekend, besides football, I got into a couple different shows, and actually, it was a couple of the shows I'm going to talk about were before, are on during football time. But so the one which I love, and I love that it came back and reboot, Night Court. Okay, it premiered on NBC last Tuesday, and it's on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on NBC. Now, as you can see, it stars Melissa Rauch. If you don't know who Melissa Rauch is, you didn't watch Big Bang Theory. And down the road, I'll get into like my top TV shows and top movies and this and that. Melissa Rauch played. Oh God, I just blanked. Well, someone will tell me. My fiance will tell me. She was Wolowitz's wife. I remember. Wow. Maybe I need to start taking memory pills. Melissa Rauch was on, like I said, on Big Bang Theory, playing Wolowitz's wife for the last of the 6 or 7 seasons of Big Bang Theory. Now, in this show, in Night Court, if anybody saw the original with Harry and obviously Harry, where's the original? Let's see. I can actually get the original. Here's the original. Harry Anderson, John Larroquette, Mark Charles Robinson, Richard Mall, Selma Diamond. Now, obviously, Selma was only on the first season. But Harry, Marky, and Charles have all died. Okay. Now, go back to this. Let's get out of cast. There we go. So Melissa Rauch plays Harry's daughter. Okay. And it's an interesting beginning, and she basically inherits her father's seat. There was obviously somebody else in that spot. It wasn't just Harry, I'm sure, but they basically talk about Harry's passing and everything like that. Now, John Larroquette, at this point of the show, in the beginning, is not a lawyer anymore. So it's an interesting take on what life was like after Night Court ended and what all these good people did. Now, this woman is the bailiff. Lucretta is her real name. And then Capel Talwalker, he plays Neil. He's the Marky Post character. And then India Beaufort, whatever her name is, plays Olivia. She's the prosecutor. John Larroquette flips roles in this show where he becomes a defendant, the defender of defendant lawyer, which was not his role. That was Marky's role. Oh wait, Marky was the lawyer. Charles Robinson worked behind the desk. So that's Capel's role, is what Charles Robinson did. But yeah, India is now what Dan Fielding was, and Dan Fielding is now what Marky Post was. So, like I said, it's a cute show. If you remember Night Court from before, you'll like this show. I think you will. I mean, it's one of the reboots I hope will last more than 2 seasons. We'll see. I don't know. Let me get out of that. Go to. It didn't say. Okay. So this will be the next one I go to. That I've been watching since the pilot. since January 3rd. It came out on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. It's a great show. If you love dramas, okay, and if you haven't seen this yet, go back to the beginning. Watch this from the beginning. It is interesting. It is intense, and there's a character in the first episode that you know the person if you know NBC series, Saturday morning series, and that person is Mark Paul Gosselaar. He is a main character in the first of 2 episodes. He plays basically a brother of these 2 characters, Will Trent and Angie Pulaski. They grew up in a I guess a kind of a orphanage type home, and the dynamic is interesting, at least for the first 2 episodes. 4th episode starts tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It's gotten to be pretty interesting. This guy is now her partner, so Angie Pulaski and Michael Ormwell are the partners now. This Amanda Wagner is his boss, is Will Trent's boss. The Will Trent character is very Sheldon-like, where it comes to he does things his own way. You come to find out that Will Trent is dyslexic. And it's an interesting role to have a dyslexic detective and how he acts in finding clues to find these murderers. It's truly interesting. And his partner is this Iantha Richardson. Faith Mitchell is the character name. It's a really good show. I recommend it. If you love your dramas, this is the show for you. All right. Next show, which is on Netflix. So this premiered on January 19th. So, 4 days ago? It's now the number 1 show on Netflix currently. That 90s show. So it stars, obviously, these 2 characters. Remember, if you know the 70s show, you know Red Foreman and Kitty Foreman. So Kurtwood Smith and Deborah Jo Rupp reprise their roles. They're the main characters of this now because they're back in the Foreman home. This girl, Leah Foreman, and you gotta watch the first episode to know why she's Leia. And if you know the name Leia and you know the 70s show, I've just given you 2 + 2 and you can equal a 4. So you figured it out. You should have figured it out. If you haven't watched it, it's actually very interesting. It could be corny too if you think about it, but I think it's interesting. Laura Prepon, I gotta say, she aged, and it surprised me. We all age. Like what I look like now, I didn't look like in my 20s. I get it, but like Laura Prepon changed. I don't know why. I don't know how. She just did. You know, I know obviously when she left the show, she was in her mid-20s, but she just completely aged, and it's crazy. Now, also in the show, and they're gonna make their little appearances. Mila makes an appearance. Ashton makes an appearance. Now, they have a child in this show. This kid, Jay. So he's their child. These are the friends. These 3 are the friends that they also that this girl befriends and hangs out with. And you got to get to know these characters. And I know that says Stephen Hyde. That seems a little odd because it's not her name on the show. And those who know who Stephen Hyde is know this, and it's something I read, but I expected it anyway because we all know what happened. Danny Masterson's not in this episode, and at least not in the first 10 episodes. And the reason, obviously, he's in jail. Most of us who know what Danny Masterson did, because we watched The Ranch. If you watch The Ranch and you know Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson were on it with, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go look it up, The Ranch, because that was a really good show, especially the first 2 seasons. Masterson, Kutcher, Sam Elliott, Deborah Winger. During this show is when he got busted. And it kills me because this was a really good show to watch. I mean, it showed the dichotomy of a family living in the West, kind of like a Montana type house, not quite the Yellowstone that I've yet to see, but I will see. But it was more. It had a comedic role. I mean, a comedic feel to it because of those two characters, because of Danny Masterson and because of Ashton Kutcher. So, unfortunately, he goes to jail, and then we deal with him not being in the show, which is very sad. But I mean, the characters are pretty cool on who's who and what's what. Tommy Chong even makes an appearance. I've seen the first 3 episodes of this. I haven't watched all 10 yet. I'm not going to give too much away from what I've seen in the first 3 episodes, but I honestly cannot wait to watch the rest of it. I recommend it if you can watch it, absolutely watch it. Again, like I said, the 90s as of yet last night when I watched it was the number 1 rated Netflix show on Netflix currently. So the last show, and a lot of you might have seen this already. I don't know. I am enamored with this show. Wednesday, all 8 episodes premiered back in November. No, it looks like around Thanksgiving time. I love this show. I can't get enough. I wanted to stay up last night, honestly, and I couldn't do it. I'm interested because I see the cast. Now, take a look at the cast if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen Wednesday yet, you look at this cast. So Jenny Ortega, I'm sure everybody's seen, plays Wednesday Addams. I've yet to see in my 3 episodes, but it says here Christina Ricci's in it. Talk about weird. So I'm waiting to see. I might have to go back. I'm going to watch the last 2 episodes. I watched them without Beth, and Beth got a little annoyed with me. So I'm going to watch it with her again to see if maybe I missed this character because I swear I didn't see her at all. And then take a look at this one. Catherine Zeta-Jones is Morticia. I tell you, watching it from my couch yesterday when I was watching it, I did not see it until I looked it up on IMDb. I did not know at all that was Catherine Zeta-Jones. Wow, what a transformation to have her as Morticia Addams. Is all we know, and I know people who watch the Addams Family can relate to this. We know Morticia Addams as Angelica Houston. But that was the comedy. That was the comedy aspect of it. You know, the comedy characters of that, including Christina Ricci, including Fester as who was Christopher Lloyd, who played Fester for those two movies. So, we know those characters that were the comedic ones. Now, this kind of shocked me. If you know Luis Guzman, you know him as a comedic actor. You know him from Journey to the Center of the Earth. He was the father of the girl from Lord, I'm forgetting the movies. It was a Disney movie. It was a dance movie with Zac Efron. High School Musical. The girl from High School Musical is the daughter to Luis Guzman, who owns that plane company that they go into the center of the earth with Brendan Fraser or not Brendan Fraser, The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and the kid, and Michael Caine was the grandfather that they found. Luis Guzman was in that, and he's done other comedic roles. He plays Gomez, and it's such a different look for whatever we know Gomez to be. I'm not a fan of it, but I can accept it as is because it is what it is. I can't change it, obviously. It's a physically different look for me. Now, these other characters, I don't know them offhand, but they do play some significant roles. Like I said, I've watched the first 3 episodes. She becomes Wednesday Adams' basic best friend. They're roommates. This is the principal. Pugsley's only in the first episode that I've seen, but I'm sure he's in more. Same with Lurch, but I'm sure they'll come into play. This kid and this kid, they are integral. And, I can't forget this George Farmer character. These 3 boys, and I'm sure they're probably men. They're probably not boys. They're integral in her character, and it's very interesting stuff. It really is. Now we go forward even more characters. Joy Sunday, she is the anti Wednesday Adams. She's smart. Well, Wednesday's also smart, but she's all about herself, and she's kind of like the bully character in essence. I mean, but it's funny. I was saying this all day yesterday watching this episode, and it reminds me a little bit of if you had Hogwarts in the public eye, because what Nevermore School is in this county of Jericho, where it seems to be a town in Massachusetts. They never say Massachusetts, but that's my guess. A town in Massachusetts. That this Nevermore School is a big part of the town itself, even though it's a pilgrim town, which is interesting. It's a pilgrim town, but it's 2023 or 2022, whatever it is. So all these characters, like Joy Sunday, she's in the school. This doctor, you've seen her before. Again, and I go back to a lot of things I'm going to reference back to Big Bang Theory. If you know me, this is what if I find somebody, I will be referencing back to Big Bang Theory. She's in Big Bang Theory. She plays Sheldon Cooper's doctor love interest. That she's in love with him, but when he's dating and engaged to Amy Farrah Fowler. So she's in this. This guy, his hand is in it. He plays Thing, crawling around. I tell you, just watching it's very interesting. He does sign language. He's doing all these different sign language things that I can't do. But he plays the hand. This guy's the sheriff. Yoko. They call her Yoko. She's basically almost similar to Yoko Ono. Interesting character name. Joseph Craxton. This guy's going to be a main character because he's the guy from the past that was the leader of the Pilgrims back in 1625. You got a young Gomez. Okay, so we're going to get into that. This guy's the mayor of the town of, I think it's called Jericho. It might be just another name. This guy's a beekeeper in the school in Nevermore. He's a bit of a nerd, and who kind of gets enamored with it Wednesday. And that's pretty much it that I can see that I know for the last 3 episodes that I saw. But I really recommend you watching this if you haven't seen it already. It is one heck of a show to watch. And this is, weirdly enough, even though it debuted and premiered in November, it's still the number 3 trending show on Netflix as of yesterday. Go figure. All right. So, what's on tonight? I have that. I know what's on tonight that I don't have here, and I know why people are probably not on. I can see there's nobody on watching me right now. WWE Raw has its 30th anniversary. I'm going to catch it as soon as I go upstairs. So I'm curious to see what that's going on. I could also watch it on Peacock too, because it'll play tomorrow on Peacock. So tonight, right now, it's already an hour in. Hawks are playing the Bulls, and the Grizzlies are playing the Kings at 10:30, both on the NBA channel. Panthers at Rangers on ESPN Plus. Sabres at Stars on ESPN Plus, both at 7 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. NCAA basketball, interesting. Kansas trying to win because like I just mentioned, they lost at home. They're still number 2 because the rankings haven't changed yet, but they're at number 21 Baylor, and Baylor's not a bad team. So And it says here the Jayhawks have actually dropped 2 straight after starting 16-1. So if they get on a skid, that could be a problem for them. And there's a Premier League. I'm not that big into soccer. That already happened actually. And the quarterfinals of the Australian Open and literally it just started at 9:00. Okay. So real quick before I finish up. So my Super Bowl boxes and playoff pool updates. If you're still interested, if anybody sees this down the road throughout the week, I'm hopefully finishing the Super Bowl boxes this week. If you're interested, I do have about roughly anywhere from 20 to 25 of each $5, $10, and $20 boxes left. If you're interested, email me at chazroyalty@gmail.com. I did put it up this week. I was stupid in not putting it up last week. That was my fault. My apologies on that. And with the playoff pool. So I got 41 sheets, okay? It was $5 per sheet, 41 sheets that picked whoever they thought might be in the Super Bowl. We've played 8 games. I got 2 sheets. Only 2 sheets that are perfect. As of right now, Joe Bonello 4. His 4th sheet that he did. And he did 6. And Angelo Quinones, he did 6. And it's his first sheet. His sheet of integrity is perfect. Now, what they both have is, if I'm correct, where did I put it? I don't even know now. San Francisco and Kansas City as their Super Bowl, both of them. So if that works out, it's going to be them 2, period, and then whoever wins, because they have different. One has Kansas City, one has San Francisco. So it's going to be one of them 2, unless Cincinnati and or Philadelphia muck things up, and that changes things. There are other people behind Joe and Angelo, and if I'm correct, Joe is actually behind. One of his other sheets is also behind that with either Eagles or Cincinnati. So it's going to be close, and this was fun. You know, a lot of people went out with Buffalo. A lot of people went out with Giants because there were people that were thinking Giants were going to win. And you know, like I said, the more the people I can get in these pools, the more money that goes out in these pools. So, like I said, it's more fun for you than it's going to be for me. I enjoy doing this, but it's going to be more fun for you when you win. That's what I'm trying to do for everybody that I know. All right. Now, lastly, the next time I'll be on, it's going to be late or later. I'm actually bowling in a tournament, the Monmouth County Masters tournament, on Saturday at 10 a.m. At Strathmore Lanes. It's my first time in it in a few years. I feel I'm good enough to at least compete. We'll see. I'll actually tell you more at 8 p.m. if I make the final 15. There's going to be probably roughly 100 bowlers there, and only the top 15 make it to the final. So if I'm lucky enough and good enough, maybe I'll be doing my picks at 8 p.m. and going straight to bed because I'm going to have to wake up early to go to this tournament on Sunday. Or not. I mean, I haven't made it yet, so I'm not expecting it. But if I do it, that would be a career highlight for me in bowling. I got my 300. That's my number one, highlight. And I got my 300. Was almost over 5 years ago. Yeah, at Strathmore Lanes in March of 2018. That's my career highlight right there. But hopefully this Saturday will be another career highlight. I can hope. But like I said, Chaz says anything, I'll be doing my 2 conference picks. And I'm doing it also this late because I need to know what Patrick Mahomes' ankle is. I also need to know what other injuries are. So that's from my knowledge, I need to have that enough of that to be to quantify and qualify what I say at this time. So it'll be then. I actually will have my twins. I should have my twins this weekend. That's why it's going to be a great thing, an even greater thing if I pull well and they're there and they see it. Talk about being a proud dad that does well in front of their kids and their kids are proud of them. That's what I hope to gain this weekend. I'm crossing my fingers. There's a lot of good competition in Monmouth County. I don't discount anybody. I've bowled against a bunch of good guys. There's a ton. I can't even name them all because they're all good. I just hope to have a good day. That's all I can hope for. All I can do. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Like I said before, I'm going to put this back up. If you like what you see or hear, click the subscribe button on the bottom, in the bottom right-hand corner. And if you like what you hear, you like what you see, tell everybody. Word of mouth is where I'm at right now. I got nobody watching right now, and that's fine. I expect people to watch later. I've been told that other people, when they get home on Monday nights from work, or they get, they're on their lunch and they want to watch something and they know me and they know I have something to say. I appreciate it. Spread the word. Peace out. I'll see everybody on Saturday.